Yo, JD here, Limitless, and we are back on F1 2019, as I always say, because it wouldn't be any different. And we are back trying to set some new world records, trying to get some W's, and it's in the classics once again. This has been a highly requested one. People probably said this one the most, actually. In fact, I will be doing Montreal very shortly because that's also very requested. But we are doing Monza, Italy, in the famous Ferrari F2004, and you can't really get a better combination than this. And I think this is the first one I ever did on last game when I did a world record kind of series or something like that. So got some times to beat. It's a 17.6, which is faster than the modern cars around here, which is to no real surprise because at Japan we absolutely smashed it around there. So make sure you check that out. But as always, going out with the default setup itself, and this setup, or the default, as I mentioned in the Japan video, is so much slower than if you were to put on the setup itself. It's about a second and a half, sometimes 2 seconds slower, or something like that. It's just, there's so much understeer, and in these cars you can actually put the ballast up to 11 like you did on the old game, which some people miss, some people don't miss. I'm kind of neutral about it, to be honest. I actually quite liked it in a way, sometimes compared to having in this game, but each to their own. But you can just gain so much more time. You can just run a lower downforce, so you're just really quick on the straights. And as always, getting that standard invalidation on the first lap. It wouldn't be an attempt series if we didn't get an invalidation in the first lap. As always, you can see the chronic understeer we have. Going down to third gear for this corner, that's not what I expected at all. It's just so much understeer because there's just no rotation in the car, and just with the ballast, it's on 6. There's just absolutely no rotation, no weight distribution or anything at all. And if you're putting the ballast to 11, you can actually run a much lower front wing, which means you're going to be so much faster on the straights as well. So it's a win-win any way you see it. And this first lap here, just getting used to the car again, because I have been doing quite a bit of modern cars recently through league racing and stuff like that. So just getting a little bit used to it again, just feels super different. And the characteristic that this car, as I always describe, is kind of has like a really big input delay on the throttle. You have to be really aggressive with the throttle, because otherwise it just won't pick up the revs or anything at all. And once you go towards the end of the rev range and the gear that you're in, that's when you're more likely to lose the car. It's very strange, but this is a car that does not want to be overdriven. If you overdrive this car, it doesn't like it, and we get another invalidation again. But yeah, you cannot overdrive this car, which is why someone said, like Schumacher, you have to drive fingertips with this car, and I think that is so true. You need to be so delicate with it, super delicate with it. So yeah, it's very, very sensitive to what you do itself, and you have to be aggressive at times, but other times you have to be super smooth. And you can see with this track, it's very harsh with the track limits. I know a lot of people say a lot of tracks in this game are very lenient, but for me, I find they're very, very harsh. Obviously there's some corners like Silverstone, Sector 3, the right hand of the first corner, that's not lenient at all. It's this game, if you go completely off, then it will give you a warning. But if you go slightly off, that's when you get an invalidation. You can see starting to improve now. And when I do this, when I'm trying to set good laps or trying to set world records or building a good setup, I always like to set a very good lap with the default setup first, because I know I'm going to gain a significant amount of time once I put on the setup. So I don't really go off it until I set a valid default setup lap. So although I always preach that you should continue to get into rhythm, and that's really what I've been doing here. I've just been continuing, even though I've got invalidations, just to get into the rhythm of the track a little bit more, just get the muscle memory down. I don't really like to continue unless I know for certain that I can do this time completely clean, completely valid. And so far, this lap is going pretty good. A little bit of a lock-up going into that first chicane, which is very, very sensitive again for the brakes through there. Even though you're off the brake, it's kind of locking on your inside. It's probably one of the toughest corners for me personally on this game. I've always struggled with that corner, particularly that first sector, but I really enjoyed this last sector and the middle sector as well. It really is just the first sector for me is a little bit of my Achilles heel. But going into the famous Parabolica, braking just after the green patch finishes on the left-hand side of the track. And this is going to be a clean default lap, and it's actually a very good clean default set lap. That's an 18.9, which is only 1.3 seconds away, and typically I gain 1.5 to 2 seconds, so that was extremely promising. That gave me a lot of confidence now starting to attack it, and now this is where the real fun starts. I'm going to download the top setup here of ERN, if I can read it correctly. As I said, the screen I'm reading off is in a very low resolution compared to what the video is going to come out in, but we're going to put on his setup, and let's see what he's rocking. He's rocking 1.5, so low downforce, standard geometry, pretty much what I expected. 10 ballast though. I think you really need to make it work with 11, but you can see the steering wheel just going absolutely crazy here at the start of every single lap. But yeah, it's I think you really do need to make a setup work with 11 ballast in this car, because you're really kind of throwing time away if you don't, in my personal opinion. So we'll probably go stay on board. I think we'll go stay on board for about 3 or 4 laps here, and I saw someone comment on the previous one I did saying we don't want to see the invalid laps, we don't want to see that, we just want to see the best laps or anything at all. But as I always say, the idea of this is to not only show you my best attempt or anything at all, or to entertain or anything, but to just give you a raw perspective of what it looks like, what it actually takes for most people, 99% of people, unless you're Jarno or Opmir or Rasmussen or something like that, can just go on and bang, just do it instantly straight away. And sometimes you do it pretty quickly. Sometimes I have got a world record on previous games or this game relatively quickly. So, but this is just giving you a raw perspective of the struggles of what it actually takes to get up to speed, and just the progression, just a genuine progression of my perspective of me getting up to speed and what it really looks like, and hopefully to give you some encouragement that you just need to be patient and you need to set targets, and if you hit a lap time it will give you so much more confidence, and then you'll find you'll just keep on hitting that lap time, then you just gradually get better. And just those tiny differences in the steering, especially with this car, it can gain you so much time. You feel you've hit the limit, but then once you've unlocked that something else, that extra few tenths in a corner or something like that, which you thought you couldn't find, then you'll find yourself finding that's your new potential of what you can hit. So it's amazing how much time you can really gain when you feel you can't. It's something I can't express enough. But see, that first lap there wasn't a particularly amazing first lap, but just getting used to the setup was just a lot more twitchy, and always invalidating that. It's so hard, because that is probably one of the most crucial corners on the track. If you don't hook it up on that left, you will lose so much time, because you need to open the corner for the right-hander so much. But you can see almost 7 tenths up on an 18.9 with a relatively scruffy lap. So as I said, you need to keep on going to rhythm, even though it's invalidated. I feel it's very important to just keep on getting in that rhythm at all costs, really. And then maybe after 5 or so laps, that's when you can decide to restart the session. But you can see almost 9 tenths up, if I can see that correct on my screen, going into one of my favourite corners on the F1 calendar. So fast here, not really tight on the entry, going to be a little bit out wide on the exit, but still about 9 tenths up. And going across the line, that's a 17.9, so we got into the 17s, although invalidated, 17s with a relatively scruffy lap. So again, it's just hitting those barriers, just giving you a little bit more confidence per lap. Trying to stay in second gear here, because you get a very good launch off this corner, and look at the time we've just gained off here. Although it's still referencing the delta from my default setup lap, I know roughly going to sector 3, I should be about 7 tenths up or so. Going to here this time. Let's see, do I do it clean this time? That was very nice. Not perfect, but very, very nice. Well, almost perfect. Go 4th gear through here, late apex, then attack the throttle as much as you can. Going into here, 4th gear. Pretty good, but not super aggressive on the throttle. And we actually are a little bit further up than I was last lap in here. And now going into Scari, just braking just before the 100 meter board, trying to clip the inside of this, trying to clip the right hand side, not too much off the left, because it actually unsettles the car on the exit, as you saw there, and almost a second up. And again, plenty of time to find in this last corner. So just after the green patch, going in nice and high, that's better, that's more attacking, much more aggressive. So just upping the aggression every single time. That's what you need to do, just being less and less cautious. Going across the line, it's a 17.7. So that is only just over a tenth away already from the world record. So when I was saying sometimes you get up to speed pretty quickly, this is one of those occasions right now, but we are still going to continue. Once we're in this rhythm, we're on a good rhythm, good momentum at the moment. You just need to keep it going, and sometimes it's a good thing, but sometimes it's a dangerous thing, because if you get up to speed quickly, you kind of gas out. The longer you take, the more you gas out, and you get a little bit more frustrated and everything as well. But you can see a tenth and a bit up already, going a little bit late apex there, but going out wide. And yeah, I was happy with this at this stage. I felt there was so much more time in the tank, and as I said, after 5 or so laps, do a little bit of a reset, because I do feel there is possibly a glitch where there's a little bit of tyre wear accumulation here. So I restarted it and started to get to that stage where I just felt there was so much more time, but I just couldn't put it together. And as I said, that's what I meant by a little bit of a dangerous thing. Got up to speed very quickly, and then you kind of underestimate. You feel, oh no, it should be very easy now to get that lap in, but then you just can't hook it up and you just keep on validating it. So we can see we're P6 on the leaderboard, just over a tenth away from the world record. And now this is the time where I feel to tweak the setup ever so slightly. So I'm actually going down in the differential, and the whole purpose of that is just to make it a little bit easier on traction, a little bit less rotatey, or less rotation going through into the corner. And I'm going to counter that by actually lowering this, give me a little bit better traction, just a little bit more stability. And I'm going to actually raise the front and rear ride height just to make it a little bit smoother over curbs. And what am I going to do here? Not going to change anything, but I'm actually going to put it to 11 ballast, because I feel you're really just throwing time away if you're just not doing that. And almost instantly with that change, you can see, although it's an invalidated lap, gaining time already, and that was a very low 17.7. So almost immediately, just gaining time. Yeah, pretty much out of the box. Going to this one, very easy to lock up. Not changing the brake bars this time. Didn't really feel I needed to do it, because ideally I actually like to keep it consistent throughout the whole time, so I know how the breakers go feel at all times. I'm very reluctant to change the brake bias, only if I really have to, such as like Suzuka last chicane. Going to here now, pretty good chicane through here, pretty nice exits one. You can see over a tenth up, so this is a very nice lap here. Late apex again, not drifting out this time, so that's good, but a little bit of oversteer for here. Going into here now, 4th gear, and much more aggressive on the throttle this time. So this is looking on course to be a world record, and this is literally my first lap out of the box. So very good purple middle sector here. Go through Sky, a little bit cautious, but running a little bit too much, making it too tight for the left-hander. And yeah, if you're just going too deep, you need the perfect line through that corner. If you get the line wrong, it just disrupts just your whole momentum going through that corner. You need the perfect line at all costs. So a little bit slower in, which allows you to go faster through the right and then left off Ascari with going into our straight and going across the line. It's a 17.8, I think, or something like that. So giving me confidence there's still more time, but locking up into this corner and then hitting this curb. If you make that too tight, there is a massive bump there. And yeah, I decided to make just a little bit of more stability in the setup itself. So I didn't actually change the wing there. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to up the rear suspension or anything. No, I'm going to up the rear anti-roll bar. So that's to stop it from rolling through the corners. And the rear suspension, raising that's going to give me a little bit more rotation. So I felt the car kind of felt weird at this stage. It kind of felt understeery, but a little bit oversteery on the rear as well. So I was just trying to play with that a little bit more and putting the rear tyre pressure up just to get a little bit more rotation through the rear, because I felt the rear just wasn't really rotating at all. And again, making these changes, feeling very nice, and almost a tenth up already going through here. Losing a little bit of time, but just you can see through the slow speed, I was just gaining so much more time. And that's because the rear is rotating much more going into this first sector. Let's see what I do this time. Going through here, that is better. That is better. You can see running a little bit easier over the curbs, and that is really down to just having a better line, to be honest, just going through there. This time, 50 meter board, as we got in a much better exit, and you can see 2 and a bit temps up. This is a very, very nice lap so far. Going to Sky. Let's see if I can get the line right this time as I do. Pretty good through there, but not having a good right hand, and you need to get that line right. I have to get that line right. I just didn't get that line right at all, and you can see still a bit over 2 temps up. I'm losing a little bit of time off the exit of this corner, so just dipping under 2 temps, coming across the line, and that would have been a 17.4, an easy world record that would have been. So doing that led to a little bit more frustrations now, starting to lock the tyres a little bit, and this is a perfectly natural thing. I think once the longer you go into it and you know what you can do, and you're trying to replicate what I did on that lap before, little more frustrations actually start to come. So I actually raised the wing to 1/6 there, and what do I do with this time on the suspension? So lowering the rear, so not as much rotation, just a little bit better traction this time. So I just felt I just needed more traction, just a little bit more stability, and you can see again straight away coming off this last corner, this would have been another 17.4, although invalidated. So I felt the potential was there 100%, but I just needed to hook up the laps, and that's just wasn't what I was doing at this stage. I just needed to hook it up, as simple as that. Going through here, just going a little bit out wide, and it's just carelessness. Just a little bit careless. It could have easily kept that on the track, but decided not to. But this time, this is a very nice exit. So the lap is not 2 temps up, but we are still up on the time. So just a relatively clean, cautious-ish lap going into Parabolica. Not getting a great entry, but getting quite a decent exit of this, staying nice and tight to minimise the distance of the track. And that is a 17.6, which is not quite the world record, but it is within the same tenth as the world record, as we're about to see here. That puts me P3 on the leaderboard, about 4 100ths away from setting the world record here itself. But now, I think, well actually no, not now yet. We're only still slightly up. And that was a little bit of anticlimax itself. And that is another 17.6 itself. So getting frustrated now. Knew what the potential was. But now, this is a very, very nice up. And I think you know what is likely coming now. So going across the line. Going green straight away, which is always what you like to see. Going into this corner, trail braking just before, about 120 meters out, hooking the inside of this. That is very, very important. First gear, just to get that little extra rotation, revving it out all the way to the end of the rev range. You really do need to do that. Lost a little bit of time on the exit though, but I knew there was still time to make up. Going into this corner, no real reference point going to here. Braking just before the 100-meter board on the left. Hooking up nicely, not taking too much curb, and getting a very, very nice exit. 50-meter board just after that. Turning in nice and early, 4th gear. Be early as you can on the throttle just before the 50-meter board. That's turning in. Going down to 3rd gear and up to 4th. So that was not a particularly good corner at all. That was not optimal in the slightest. But we are still just under a 10th up on our time. Going to Ascari at the 100-meter board. That's when we're going to turn in. Making sure we hook it on the right. Hook it a little bit on the left. And that was pretty nice through there. That was almost perfect. Just making sure I stayed on the track itself. And then just after the green patch, want to really throw it in nice and early. We could have been a little bit more aggressive. Not a fantastic exit. So you can see we've lost some time going through into here now. And going across the line, that is a 17.579, which I can confirm was enough for the world record itself. But I still wasn't happy with that at all. Still wasn't happy with that because I did a 17.4 invalidated before. So we're going to try another attempt itself. So going across the line, almost going green. Don't know why it does that sometimes. It's very annoying when it doesn't do that. But braking pretty aggressive into here this time. Hooking the inside of this again as you need. Staying in 2nd gear. I think if you can stay in 2nd gear, look at the time we've gained. We've gained so much time. About 3/4 of a tenth, which is a lot in one corner. That's quite a lot. And going through to here now, probably the hardest corner to hook up on the track. Braking nice and aggressive. 4th gear for as long as possible, but we get an invalidation. But you can see We have just gained so much time through here, and this time better through this corner. Let's see, 2 tenths up, doing it better than we did on the previous lap, although we still went down to 3rd gear, but we are about 2 and a bit tenths up. So as I've been saying, you can just gain so much time just through the tiniest of differences, and pretty unlucky with that invalidation, because I still felt probably the rear part of the car was most likely still on track itself. But you can see we're comfortably a tenth and a bit up, and let's see what we could do much more aggressive into it. That's how I should have done it on the previous lap, and look at the time, we're still well within a tenth or 2 tenths going across the line. It would have been a 17.3, which would have been almost 3 tenths clear on a track like this. That is an absolutely huge margin, but approaching the hour mark, I don't like to do this more than an hour itself. I felt that was enough, and yeah, I felt there was a lot more potential. As you could see with that last lap, I feel 17.1 or 2 is even possible, but that was still enough for the world record. And you can see the wings I'm using, 1.6 wings, 70-75, just to make it quite easy, but still good on traction, standard geometry, 1.3 for the rotation, the rear roll bars, the roll bars just to keep the stability, the 1.2 or 1.3 ride height, if I can read, makes it good in a straight line, and again, just good overall grip. 89 for the brake pressure, you really do need that. Maximum front tire pressure just for that rotation and straight line speed, just a little bit low on the rear just for that rear stability. But yeah, I felt there was huge potential in that, but still did what I needed to do. Thank you so much for the series, hope you're enjoying it, and I'll catch you soon. Peace.